around you, what do you see? Now, I'm not with you right now, but if I might be so bold as to assume, you might just have a door somewhere in your room or your house. And this door might just, by some small chance, increasingly small as the newer your house might be, is your door handle might be made out of some sort of brass. Now, if it is, you might probably think that's a stylistic choice, or if there is some other use. Well, that second assumption is correct, in that when you search it up and you do a little research on the subject, you find out that brass has naturally antimicrobial functions, properties, and this is why it was used in hospitals back in the day. This is why it was used as things like door handles, which are very notably quite dirty a lot of the time. Now, why do I talk about this? Well, I'm just trying to give an example on knowledge, which is the next, and as of right now, essentially the final third of genius here, which is the search for knowledge, to always be learning something new inside of this world, which I think is an ever increasing of ever increasing importance, especially as we go to an age where more and more information is accessible, but less and less information is necessarily needs to be memorized. And I think that memorization and just having a general knowledge on things is very useful, not only because it might just come of use one day, I don't know, maybe you go into Jeopardy one day, right? But I think that understanding the world around you is an important skill to have. I think it increases your intelligence. I think that it'll maybe even help you create pathways between more abstract ideas, which I am told is a large part of intelligence, if you will. So how do you cultivate a real desire to have knowledge in the first place? Well, first of all, you can ask questions. Christ says to be childlike. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you ever get the chance to know a child, or if you ever get the chance to be a child, you might just realize something. Why is the sky blue? Oh, well, because the way the light reflects off of that. Oh, well, why is that? Oh, because of its density, and because of, oh, well, why is that? Oh, because of there is specifically number of molecules per square meter. Oh, well, why is that? You know, so on and so forth. They love asking questions. They love to learn, which I think is very, very important. And I think it's very unfortunate that our culture, in a way of speaking, erodes this, really. So how do we recultivate it? Well, we ask questions, right? We ask ourselves, this fly, it's standing on a pole, a smooth metal pole that doesn't seem to have any obvious pivots. So how does it have it? Well, maybe it has some type of hook on the end of its little feetsies, but then you quickly realize, oh, well, this is a smooth pull. It probably doesn't have much to hook onto unless it's on the microscopic level. Oh, well, maybe it has some sort of adhesive property, like a fleshy bit at the end of its feet, you know? And then eventually, maybe you do eventually decide to search it up, and you find out, oh, would you look at that? It's a combination of both of these. That's how they do it. And then maybe you even dare to ask even further, oh, how do flies fly around and always land on their feet, right? So on and so forth. So you use the observation from last part, and you use this to question the world around you. What don't I understand? What is something that is outside of my current realm of knowledge? right? Try to be something of a scientist yourself, if you will, right? And this is something that I forgot to mention yesterday, that in observation, at least in my current theories, you have a bit of an observation of yourself, and an external observation, which was what I was discussing yesterday, in which you're looking around you. How are the people in your entourage doing? What does your environment look like? Whatnot. An ego one would be, if you will, metacognition, right? The ability to think about thinking. What am I feeling right now? What emotion is this cultivating within me? What right now am I perhaps having an absence in knowledge of? Where the gaps in my knowledge lie, right? And this is very important so that you can fill it, right? So you observe and you find the gaps. And first, I think it is important to theorize, you know. That fly example I used earlier was a real example that I had in real life, right? Another one I had was with vocal cords. So, in your larynx, I was thinking, okay, well, men have much more pronounced Adam apples, right? And I know that on average men are gonna have deeper voices than women. Why is that? What is happening with the vocal cords there? Is it even the vocal cords there, right? So I think, okay, well, I know that men's larynxes, their Adam's apples, they're larger, right? Which means obviously the logical conclusion is that they need more room for some purpose. Okay, well, perhaps a vocal cord is thicker in men, right? And maybe, but when I think of an instrument, I don't really look at different thicknesses when looking for sound. I look at their lengths. So I thought of a harp, something that you do string. I thought, okay, well, do re mi fa sol la ti, right? The longer a string is, the deeper the noise, right? Which led me to the obvious conclusion that men have longer vocal cords than women do, and this is what gives them deeper voices. And I searched it up, or I read it in my textbook at school, and this is the case. So, you know, pat yourself on the back, Sam. And give yourself little congratulations. And I think that this is something that everyone should apply in their life. Where first they introduce a level of logical, practical thinking. You derive what you know from the world already to theorize and to learn more. And maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong. Either way, you're going to be exiting this a more knowledgeable human being, and perhaps then a better off human being. So yeah, that's about it. If I want to use yet another example from history, as I have the other two videos, I could probably go back to Leonardo da Vinci. You know, he'd set out every day trying to learn one new lesson. You know, how does a hummingbird's tongue fit inside of its body? Well, you know, wraps around the head. I don't know, right? But I think this is a very important part, perhaps even the most important part. I don't know, maybe the least as well. Who's to say? Think about it, if you will. Do a little observation, then add some critical thought there. That's actually not a very bad idea. When I'm thinking about genius, maybe adding a level of a secondary thought. And what I mean by that is the very classical softball problem. You know, the softball and a bat. The bat is worth, I think, 10 cents more than the softball together. Or no. Like, what is the question? Oh, the bat is worth $1 more than the softball together. they are $1.10, right? So your first thinking will probably conclude, okay, well, the softball is 10 cents and the bat is $1, right? And maybe after that you apply some secondary thinking and you conclude, okay, the softball is 5 cents and the dollar is $1 and the bat is $1 more than that, which makes it $1.05. Together that makes $1.10. In other words, the bat is 5 cents. Or well, the bat is $1.05 and the softball is 5 cents, right? I explained that extremely poorly, but I think you get the point. You know, I think that another aspect of genius would be to add that secondary to thinking and combine that with observing yourself. Okay, am I using tertiary or secondary thinking here? If so, or depending on your answer, how can I change that in a positive fashion? Can I think to a tertiary degree, to even further degrees after that? But that's about it for this video. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.